Welcome to Drinks in the Library, the only library where drinks aren't just allowed, they are required. I'm your librarian host, Gigi Howard, and each episode I'll be interviewing a guest about a much-loved book that we will be pairing with a drink for you to enjoy along with us or consider for your next book club meetup. As always, stay curious and support your local library. All right, Libration Nation, this week we are going down the rabbit hole as we are diving into the whimsical world of Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, a tale, of course, we all know is timeless and explores the boundaries of imagination and reality. Also, so amazing this week, my guest is Elizabeth Wiley. She is an award-winning audiobook narrator with experiences in genres like historical fiction, literary fiction, and biography. She has worked with my friend and previous guest L.M. Elliott as audiobook narrator for her books. She is known for her skills with dialects and character work. Originally from Minnesota and now in Williamsburg, Virginia, she records in her home studio. Elizabeth enjoys discussion on the intersection of arts and sciences with her NASA engineer partner. She enjoys skiing, sailing, yoga, and so much more. Sitting with her to record this was like being in a master class of character work and narration. Also, Elizabeth brought to us today our drink, which is the Queen of Hearts special. Do not sleep on her latest audiobook that is out, which is Too Old for This by Samantha Downing. Just came out last week, August 12th. All right, we're going to get to it just now. But before we do, if you're liking the show, please support by subscribing. It really helps me grow and I appreciate it. Okay, let's get to it. I kind of stick to questions.
Okay.
But if we go down a rabbit hole, that's always a lot of fun, too. Okay, Liz. So glad to be with you today.
I am so happy to be here. I'm late for a very important date, and I'm sorry that I'm late. But it was appropriate, but I didn't do it on purpose.
I like how it does match up a little bit, but yeah, no worries at all. It's, we're having a fun Saturday here at my house. So on my side, I'm just making sure my kid is not going to be jumping in here. And if she does, she's probably about the same age as Alice, and then maybe that would make sense. Who knows?
We think I think Alice is about 10, but then I'm reading this, and it's, oh my God, she's 7.5? She's so precocious.
She is so precocious, yeah. So I do want to give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself and, what brought us together in the first place and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I am an audiobook narrator. And before that, I was a theater professor for 27 years. I taught acting and voice for actors. And my passion has always been with language and text, and especially heightened language like Shakespeare, but that gets us into poetry as well. I left teaching in 21 and switched over entirely to narrating audiobooks, which I'd been developing. So I've been doing that for over a decade now. And you and I met at a red wine and blue event that was featuring author L.M. Elliott.
Yes.
Laura Elliott. And I've narrated 6 or 7 of her titles for middle grade, and which I think she's just a fantastic storyteller, part of a mutual admiration society. And then I went to hear her talk at the Richmond Library, and there you were, and Kismet.
Kismet, yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was so amazing, and I'm glad you're here. And yes, Laura's awesome. She was on the podcast last year, the Pat Conroy episode, and I met her at VLA. But yeah, like you were saying, there's so many interwoven people coming together, yeah. And we're going to be talking about Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. So,
yes.
Who were you when you first read this book?
When I first... Here's the thing, Gigi. Did I read the book way back when? Parts of it. But then what sticks in the mind to probably most of the people is that early Disney animated movie. Mm-hmm. And then, all the Tim Burton spin-off in 2010. But it's such a part of our cultural lexicon, things pulled from Lewis Carroll. And actually, I was supposed to read the book in high school. Mm-hmm. I was entering 10th grade, and I was registered for a class, an English lit class called Cabbages and Kings, which comes from Through the Looking Glass, the Walrus and the Carpenter poem, which I adore. And I ended up in the hospital for the whole first quarter with a ruptured appendix. Oh, no. I was excited about Cabbages and Kings, and then I didn't read the book. So you asked, we're talking about this podcast, and I'm thinking, what should I talk about? There's so many books I love, and, are we going to get philosophical, or am I supposed to be, really analytical, or, I know anything goes. And I thought, I really love poetry, and I love it when authors put poetry in their work. And then it was like, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and Through the Looking Glass. And here is a perfect example of I get to pull the book off the shelf and dig in and go. I had read bits and pieces of it and seen it on the screen, but to go in there and really read it, that's the pleasure. And I advise that for anyone listening to go back to some of these favorites. We call it a childhood favorite, but it's really for everybody.
Yeah.
And I read it and I listened to it at the same time.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. And shout out to our audiobooks.
Shout out to audiobooks. Of course, this is a classic and it's in the public domain. So a lot of people have turned it into an audiobook. Mm-hmm. And so I did some sampling of who do I want to listen to, read this. And I found Christopher Plummer.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, my first crush.
Oh, my gosh. I had no idea. And if we think, of course, we think of The Sound of Music and
yes.
Captain, and you might think of, and children's literature, you might think of Madeline, because he narrates the Madeline when it was turned into TV series or movie or whatever it was. But then I said, Christopher Plummer narrated this?
Wow.
He is so whimsical and flexible, and he just creates this entire animated cast of Wonderland characters that you will know at Christopher Plummer that you never expected was even part of this already fabulously talented human being.
Yeah. Oh, now I want to read the audiobook. I mean, yes, yeah. Christopher Plummer, Captain Von Trapp, was very we all watched it and I was just like, he's a handsome dad.
He certainly is. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Hang on, I want to ask you, so talking about poetry and books, and you have some markers in there in your copy.
I do.
Are there any poems that we could kick it off sharing? I know there's a lot.
Could. Of course, I marked the ones. I marked, these are all the poems. Mm-hmm. And it's always better to have more material than not enough. Of course, we probably are most familiar with Jabberwocky, which later on and Through the Looking Glass, Lewis Carroll explains these portmanteaus that he's come up with for this poem, which is really cool. There's one called Father William that's like the early in Wonderland.
And she recites that one in particular, and it's almost like she's trying to remember. Is that a Lewis Carroll poem, do we know, or was that like a standard one that kids knew at the time? I don't know the answer to that. That was my impression.
I think it was like some of these nursery rhymes were standard. Mm-hmm. I think this might be a standard one. So maybe we should stick with Lewis Carroll ones. Because that's I don't remember. Because in fact, since I mentioned Cabbages and Kings, maybe we should do a sampling of Walrus and the Carpenter. So I'll pick a stanza here and there. It's Tweedledee who's saying this. This is in the Walrus and the Carpenter chapter. The sun was shining on the sea, shining with all his might. He did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright. And this was odd, because it was the middle of the night. The moon was shining sulkily, because she thought the sun had got no business to be there after the day was done. It's very rude of him, she said, to come and spoil the fun. The sea was wet as wet could be. The sands were dry as dry. You could not see a cloud, because no cloud was in the sky. No birds were flying overhead. There were no birds to fly. The Walrus and the Carpenter were walking close at hand. They wept anything to see such quantities of sand. If this were only cleared away, they said, it would be grand. I'll stop there.
Yeah.
I'll stop
It was
there.
wonderful.
So much fun. Just love it. And this little stanza is the one that keeps coming back to me, and maybe that's because of that high school experience.
Yeah.
The time has come, the Walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings. There it is. There it all is. There all of it is right there.
Yes. And you're taking a sip of your drink, so I want to introduce it. It's the Queen of Hearts.
The Queen of Hearts Special.
The Queen of Hearts Special, yes. And you brought this to us today.
I did. It's so easy and so tasty. Mm-hmm. And this is vanilla vodka.
My favorite vodka.
Me too.
Yes, it's the best.
And the mixer is simply, you have to go to Trader Joe's. No. You have to go to Trader Joe's to get Power Red juice. It's called To the Power of 7 Red.
Oh.
And they have 7 different red fruit juices mixed together. Mm-hmm. They have Power Purple and Power Green. So I thought, of course, the Queen has so much power. And I could say the Red Queen and the Queen of Hearts, who are 2 different characters, but they're both a little nasty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, here's my sip.
Yes.
And then, for a little garnish, instead of, Marina cherries or something that's, kind of a regular fruit, there I was at Trader Joe's. And I thought, dark chocolate-covered cherries because dark. Who doesn't love dark chocolate, but dark like the Queen. And also, you don't usually put chocolate things on top of a drink, and we're in Wonderland.
Right. I know. Yeah. So they're very good, and it adds like a little bit of fun. So I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying all the aspects of it coming together, and talking about. Now we're talking about the queens. Who's your favorite characters in this book?
It depends on the week.
Who am I today?
Who am I today? I am the Queen of Hearts today.
Okay. Yes, and you're all, for the listener, we're on brand. You've got these gorgeous ruby teardrop earrings.
Yes, these huge, gaudy, red jeweled earrings.
Yes.
If it weren't like the middle of summer, I would have this white ruff around my neck like a queen.
Yeah.
And a long red dress and a red sash and so forth. And I have to say, there's a story behind that. My second child, whose name is Kaliska, we had one of her themed birthday parties was an Alice in Wonderland birthday party. I think she was 10, kind of when we think, what we think Alice of being, but even though she's 7.5. And I might have been the dormouse in that. Anyway, because, it depends on the week. But her name is Kaliska, and I used to call her Kaliska, Kali, Kalu, Kale, and Kalu, Kale is O frabjous day, Kalu, Kale, from Jabberwocky. So these little pieces of Wonderland float back in. But I got to my family for a minute because they joke to me that my superpower is finding people's recent physical injuries that are otherwise invisible and poking at them. I will come and, grab my daughter's knee in a way that I don't usually do. And she'll go, ow, 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 ow. How did you know that I skinned my knee? It's right there. Or I would, come and take someone by the finger instead of by the hand. And they'll go, I jammed that today. Ow, ow, that's the... And I don't know how that happens, but it really is kind of uncanny. And so, that story has got around. Mm. And so what I have with me today is this giant framed Queen of Hearts card.
Yeah.
And it was a gift from one of my students at college. And it says in the margin that they've written on it, she had not yet decided whether to use her powers for good or evil. I wish I could channel that superpower for good.
Yeah. And preparing, and you and I kind of emailed and messaged back and forth a little bit about this and talking about the villains of this story.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And it is really interesting. I feel like there's a lot of clear archetypes. And, this is a story written, it's for all ages, but it's written for children. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there were a lot of stories like this that had been written for children when Lewis Carroll penned this 1862, 3, something like that.
Yeah, between the two of us, we should know that.
Somewhere in those years.
Yes, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on?
The Queen of Hearts, off for this head, is a character we love to hate.
Yeah.
Because there's really not any redeeming thing about her. There's a moment of possible softer quality in the Red Queen later, but in terms of this one. And so she's very two-dimensional. But it puts, for Alice, for a child trying to navigate in a world, particularly in the 19th century, where children were better seen than heard and really had strict rules to follow. It's a personification of what she comes up against. But another reason why this book is just so timeless is that we can look at that villain today and think, oh my God, what... just think every time she turns her head, she can call out a command and it shall be done. Mm. That was kings and queens. That was absolute rulers. Mm. But today I'm dressed as the Queen of Hearts. No kings, yes queens.
And we stand on this.
Because it is really fun to kind of just step in there and be a little naughty with a wink sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And so it was interesting. I was just thinking about it and preparing for this and things I didn't know before. I said just a few minutes ago that there weren't a lot of books like this around at the time. And a lot of the books that were written for children or any stories written for children were supposed to instruct some kind of moral.
Yes.
Some kind of morality within the child. And there weren't really just whimsical stories.
Right.
And I think...
This is breaking a mold.
Yeah, and the reason why the book still was got decent reviews early on was Alice is so polite and well-mannered. And that was, okay, we're allowing this kind of story into the zeitgeist because Alice is a good quote-unquote child.
That's so true, Gigi. Yeah, she's very polite, always polite first. And when her politeness is met with rudeness, she might say something a little stronger than that first polite response, but she gets to say it. So that was rude. She'll point up things that are, you're not behaving well. That doesn't make any sense. That's completely impossible. And then the adults will come back with their own sort of either they're rude or they're completely upside down and backwards, and I've believed 6 impossible things before breakfast, and that's one of their quotes, right? So yeah, I think you're onto it. That this book was okay because the child was the one who was trying to follow the rules.
Yeah, and so that's sort of the info I got researching this a little bit. And I never think about things like that. You don't think about at this point in time in 2025 or when I saw this movie 30-something years ago, however, I wasn't thinking, how it was that this book became to be so integral and, the architecture for stories that came afterwards.
Right. So much has been drawn from this. It's just amazing.
Yeah. So who are some other characters? I'm looking at my questions. I have to be honest with you. I'm looking at my questions that I have.
Yeah.
And I think that the story, because so many people know it.
Yes.
I don't know if I want to spend a time, what is the vibe of the story? Because I think everybody knows.
Right.
And so I think the more interesting thing is to talk about the importance of maybe certain characters to you or certain parts of the story that you would think that really drew you in. And I don't think everybody's read it, right? So what is the fun thing about reading this book?
It's interesting to see what parts of it have become so ubiquitous and merchandisable. The Cheshire Cat. And then when you read that page of her interaction with the Cheshire Cat, and they do talk about, I'm being mad. Oh, wait, here it is. But I don't want to go among mad people, Alice remarked. Oh, you can't help that, said the cat. We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad. How do you know I'm mad? Said Alice. Well, you must be, said the cat, or you wouldn't have come here. But that the quote, all the best people are, comes from the 2010 movie. That's not in the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
So, it's finding these exchanges, and of course I grew up I was born in early 60s to date myself. And that was, the whole, all my siblings were all older than me. So I was very aware that this is the era of hippie era and drug culture and yada yada. And I remember watching the movie Go Ask Alice and knowing the song Go Ask Alice by Jefferson Airplane, which riffs on Alice in Wonderland as a metaphor for drugs. Yeah. And so, of course, there's the mushrooms and the hookah and the drink me potion and getting bigger and getting smaller. And that theme, and of course in the 19th century, that would have been opium.
Yeah.
So I think that part lodged itself in my periphery because of the culture that I was aware of as a young child and looking to my older siblings and seeing what's going on around the Vietnam War and all of that. And so the drug culture was interesting to me. And then to look back and wonder, I want to read biographies of Lewis Carroll, beyond Wikipedia, and just to see what's going on there. There's goodness. Oh, here's another aspect of it. There are as an acting teacher, and voice for actors, we would have lots of vocal warm-ups, right? Vocalizing, and then of course you get to the breathing, and then you get to the tongue twisters to get your enunciation clear. We want clarity.
What's your favorite tongue twister? Which I said wrong.
I'll give you a couple of examples of little tidbits that came from Lewis Carroll that I didn't realize at first years ago where they came from, but then eventually it's, oh, that's from here. In the Lobster Quadrille, we have a refrain that comes back to, will you, won't you, will you, won't you, will you join the dance? Would you, could you, would you, could you, would you join the dance? And those little phrases we'd use as for clarity, so you're not saying, would you, could you, would you, could you, would you, would you, could you, will you, won't you? So that's from the Lobster Quadrille in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. That's fascinating. Which way? Which way? Which way? Asking the rabbit, or the rabbit asking her, or Alice asking, which way shall I go? Where do you want to go? I think that Cheshire Cat says that. These are curiouser and curiouser. This play with words and the puns and the taking things. I know I'm going down a rabbit hole with this. I'm not staying on character necessarily, but you'll forgive me because I'm in Wonderland. The way that the idioms in our language plays with words. She's talking to, oh gosh, who is she talking to? They're talking about, this is in the Through the Looking Glass thing. Through the cocktail glass. She's talking about, this is in, and she says, who's down there? There's 3 girls down there. What's down there? What kind of well is it? It's a treacle. Oh, and what are they doing down there? They want to draw. Oh, what are they drawing? They want to draw treacle. I should have the quote, but I'm just...
What's a treacle?
I'm really, really paraphrasing. But she said, what? How can you draw treacle? If you have a water, you draw water. If you have a treacle, wouldn't you draw treacle? So I guess. So that, and that reminds me of another one of my favorite books from childhood is The Phantom Tollbooth. When you have the watch dog, who's like actually a watch, and jumping to conclusions is this like island that we jump to. And
well, that story is definitely informed by Alice's Adventures for sure, with the way that the language comes. And I thought the caterpillar not becoming a butterfly, it becomes a cat. And I think I was like, oh, because cat is in the word. There it is.
Yes. Yeah.
So many, as we said already, like so many things have come from these stories and are influenced by it. I definitely want to talk a second about who was Lewis Carroll and like the creation of this book. What do we know about him or the book itself?
Gigi, if I haven't looked at something in the past week, my brain is a sieve. Yes, I've read up on Lewis Carroll, and he was into photography, and he knew a lot of the people who were dabbling in other worlds. That was the time of fairies and theosophy and
all of those things.
Is there a world beyond the one that we know and can put our feet on?
Yes. He was very involved in the church, I think.
He started as a minister, didn't he?
Yes. And then became teaching math and things. But I think it's so interesting to think about, and like I said, all I know is from prepping for this. I didn't know that it's John Tenniel he did all of the illustrations for Alice, and that he was such a prominent artist at the time, and that was another big draw for the book.
Aren't they wonderful illustrations?
Yes.
I knew when I got my copy of this book, it had to have
Yes.
the illustrations.
Yeah, you have the full, and then does that also have Through the Looking Glass as
It
well?
does, yeah.
Yes.
And it has other books in the back too, which I now I need to go read those because yes, it's a rabbit hole.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
There's so many things. So you just have to imagine. So he meets the Liddell family in England. I think Oxfordshire. I could be totally wrong on that. But and then Alice Liddell is the youngest sister. And she's 4. Yeah. And that they start having outings. And he's like very much enjoys this child's company. He enjoys the whole family, but this little girl apparently was very precocious. And that's sort of the story. That's where the story came from, is he started telling stories about on the water on these outings, and he would tie her in.
You can see how his inspiration has come from these little outings in the natural world. When you've got little creatures that are at the eye level of a young person. They've got a frog and a fish who are footmen, and the little oysters are so cute and talking to each other and unsuspecting.
I know.
And the flowers, and he uses all of the parts of the natural world that we do when we make up stories to kids.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You said her name, Alice Liddell, and one thing I discovered upon reading this is you get to the end of Through the Looking Glass, and there's a lovely little poem, rhyming poem, A, B, B, C, 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 D, 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 etc. And the first letter of each line spells Alice's full name, Alice Pleasance Liddell.
Really?
Isn't that cute?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's so cool that I wonder what her life was like, that she inspired these classic stories.
Yeah.
At such a young age, too. But yeah, thinking about children and their imaginations and like their love of animals. Of course, my daughter is 10.
Yeah.
She just finished. Every year she goes to the SPCA critter camp here in Richmond, which I can't. It's wonderful.
Perfect.
Yeah, but I picked her up yesterday, and we spent. Oh my gosh, Mom, we have to go see all these cats, and we go see all the cats, and she knows all of their names. I mean, this is like 30 cats, and she goes every day, says goodbye to all the cats, and then we have to go say goodbye to all the dogs, and it's beautiful. But I remember also being like that as a child. It was just being enthralled, and you feel like they're your friend, and you feel like they understand what you're saying, and yeah, so
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. Did you know, this is totally a detour. Happy summer solstice.
Happy summer solstice. We're recording.
Yes, and in Scandinavia and Sweden in particular, part of the celebration has to do with frogs.
Oh, really?
They do a little frog dance around the maypole, a maypole, and it's such a cultural thing that everybody knows it, and they talk about it. It doesn't have wings. Their little tadpoles don't have their legs yet, and I just think that's just adorable.
Yes,
because this is the time. This is the time when. Yesterday I saw the fireflies out, and so that's right, it's firefly time. Yay! This is the time when you start to hear the toads and frogs and the peepers. And so all of those things work their way into these stories, drawn from nature.
Yeah. I really love that aspect of it as well. Yeah. Are there any things that you in particular, if there's anything that you wanted to talk about that was especially?
Oh my goodness. I think I worked a bunch of things in. I guess what's interesting is with the Red Queen, who not the Queen of Hearts, but the Red Queen who comes up in through the looking glass. You know, she's the stern one. She's a little formidable. And when she first meets Alice, she says, "Where do you come from? And where are you going? Look up, speak nicely, and don't twiddle your fingers all the time." And that's exactly some of the, like, what you'd be hearing as a child.
The twiddling. Yes, I was
Right?
often criticized for twiddling or touching things, and I still do.
We're not standing in one place. I don't. And Alice says she's lost her way. And she says, "I don't know what you mean by your way. All the ways about here belong to me." But why did you come out here at all? She added in a kinder tone. "Curtsy while you're thinking what to say. It saves time." So
Saves time.
I know. So she's like all about the rules. I'm one of these villains or antagonists anyway.
Yeah.
Who's an adult who's trying to be a rule keeper.
Yeah.
But there's the glimmer of, but why did you come out here? So there's a little opening of humanity, a little opening of compassion. And I thought, and I appreciate that. But then there's the time. Curtsy while you're thinking. It saves time.
Yeah. It's a good,
Because
idea.
because here we are. I'm late for a very important date. Adults are so busy. They have so many things to do.
Yeah.
Mom's got to take a break and make this podcast with this person who's coming over.
It's true.
The time. So, yeah. So it's a great reminder for us to take the time.
Yes.
To enjoy.
Yes.
And the book ends, I'll say 6 lines that come from the end. This is from the poem that spells her name in the first letters. Talking about children waiting to hear his story. "In a wonderland they lie, dreaming as the days go by, dreaming as the summers die, ever drifting down the stream, lingering in the golden gleam. Life, what is it but a dream?"
I love that. Yeah. It's very informed by childhood, I think.
Yes.
And I feel like the book kind of inspires you to go back and to remember what it's like to have that childlike moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to examine, why are we being so ridiculous? Why are we so caught up in having a trial and evidence that doesn't mean anything, and listening to people who are talking backwards and whose logic doesn't make sense, and wait a minute, let's just stop and be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. That was awesome. You brought it all together perfectly. And I always ask my last question, which is, who would you recommend this book for?
Ooh, I would recommend that parents read this to their kids once they get into chapter books. Because it's great to read aloud if you just dive in, and everyone can have fun being, what do you think a lizard would sound like? Bill, the lizard, who gets shot up out of the chimney. What would he sound like? Just have fun with that. And each little episode, each thing that she encounters is a little story that you can come back to and pick it up where you left off.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I wanted to give you a chance to shine a spotlight on anything either you're working on or something you're passionate about.
I do have a book coming, a book I narrated that's being released in August. That's on Goodreads or BookBub, I forget. List of mysteries to look for this summer.
Okay.
And it's called Too Old for This by Samantha Downing.
Okay.
And basically, it's told in the first person, and I am a 75-year-old serial killer.
Yes.
Yeah. with a little twist of humor in there, sort of.
Yeah.
In a Fargo sort of way.
Oh,
Yeah.
love Fargo.
Yeah.
Love Fargo.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to that. Putting it on my TBR for sure.
Yay.
So, Liz, this has been like such a treat. I feel like I've sat in on a master class of, talking about stories, but then like all the poems and the way that you gave it to us. I feel like I'm so lucky. So I really appreciate it.
It was totally my pleasure. I had so much fun thinking about and prepping for this and going back into the book. The pages, the copy I have has that gold finish on the edge,
yes.
which is like, this is one of those bookshelf books that you love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
Okay. It was so much fun. So thank you. And I'll enjoy the rest of my Queen of Hearts special.
Here's to you, here's to me, here's to all the libraries that be,
Yeah.
and the readers and the books and all the streams and all the brooks. That was extempore.
Oh. Amazing. First time happening. I love it. All right. Cheers. Thank you for spending some time with me and my guests for an episode of Drinks in the Library. For more information about the show, you can find us on Instagram at Drinks in the Library, on the World Wide Web, drinksinthelibrary.com, or shoot me an email at drinkspod@gmail.com. Until next time, cheers.